All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for making the time to join us this evening. My name is Otto McDowell. I serve as the operations supervisor at Helen's Daughters, but you will be joined a bit later on by the program coordinator, Shekwana Baba. She's the program coordinator for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so, as you all know, this evening we will be doing we'll be doing our Ag-cademy session with a special presenter who is also a board member, just like Miss Davy Daniel. This evening, we'll be having a presenter, Miss Theodora Morrill. Just to do a brief introduction, Miss Morrill is a renowned food safety and quality professional with leadership roles at two global food industry leaders, that's Kellogg's and Kraft Food. She is currently the founder and CEO of Theodora Ventures Counseling at Kellogg, where she retired in 2020 as Vice President of Global Food Safety and Quality. She created cultures of food safety and science-based decisions making across 150 Kellogg facilities and key suppliers. She developed and maintained risk-based global audit systems and tools that measured adherence to company standards and applicable regulations, including FDA, USDA, CFIA, and other global regulatory bodies. She is the past president of SSAFE, a global nonprofit member organization that works to strengthen food safety and improve human, plant, and animal health well-being. She also serves on a number of boards, including our very own Helen's Daughters. She's passionate about utilizing her extensive food safety, quality, regulatory, and nutrition experience to contribute to the development of food safety culture for the Caribbean. Ms. Morrill has a master's in microbiology and from Long Island University, and is a graduate of the Kellogg/Harvard Leadership Academy. Everyone, this evening, Miss Theodora Morrill would be having a presentation on principles of food safety. Please welcome Miss Theodora Morrill, who will be our presenter for this evening. Theo, take it away.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can.
Hello, everyone, and
Hello.
thank you, Otto, for this intro. I want to just thank everyone on the Zoom, because I know it's not easy. You've had a full days of work, and then you have to go home, take care of your family. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. So today we're gonna change the narrative around a little bit from what you've been learning. And we're going to talk about the principle of food safety. And on Thursday, we'll talk about how do we implement food safety. And so most of you may be asking, okay, food safety, how is that helping my business? So hopefully by the end of the session, if you have not already thought about that, you will be thinking about it and using it as a means to get market access to grow your business, and most of all, sustainability. So this is going to be a bit of an interactive group. You're going to have a little bit of action to do, so hopefully everybody stays awake. I have a bit of a game. We'll try to do one of it, time permitting. I'm going to try to be done, but on time. The presentation should be done on time, but then I encourage you to ask questions on the chat and be part of the presentation. It's not a lecture, it's a discussion, okay? So with that, let me see if I can, oh, Otto, I'm already having problem moving.
Okay.
There we go. You guys can see my slides, right?
Not as yet. I'm seeing
You're
your
not seeing
camera.
it?
No, I'm seeing your camera.
Oh. Now,
Have
can you
you
see it?
have you shared it? No, not as yet.
Yeah.
Okay, we seen your camera.
Share.
And select.
I did. I shared. All
Okay.
right. 1 second. Let me get out.
Yeah, sure.
I am seeing the slides.
You are? Is everybody else? Because it say I'm sharing, but which one are you seeing?
I'm seeing your camera.
You
No,
see
well,
your
we see
slide.
the
Currently,
slide.
I'm seeing her slides also.
The
seeing
slide
a
that
slide
you
that
should be
you're saying.
seeing should say Theo Morel.
Yes, I'm seeing the
That's what I'm
introduction
that's what I'm
slide.
seeing.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, it's on the side, actually. It's on the side. So probably you need to click on it twice in order for it to be
Okay.
central.
It's on the side?
Yeah.
No, well, I'm actually seeing it in full screen.
Yeah, I
I
have it
am
on full
seeing.
screen,
It's
I
on
am
full screen.
but now I can't move it. 1 second.
Yeah. Module 6, learning objectives. Oh,
Okay.
it's gone back again.
What about now? Okay, you guys seeing it?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes, you're seeing
Yes,
principles of
we
food
do.
safety,
Yes, we are.
module 6.
Okay, good. Oh, thanks, Otto. Again, so here is what we're gonna learn, what to expect. Okay, we talk about a little bit about the basic of food safety. We'll talk about the culture of food safety. We'll talk about foodborne illnesses and microorganisms. We'll talk about kitchen and personal hygiene. There's a little bit of a homework. So you should each have received a food safety journal. Is that correct? Does everybody have that? A learning journal, sorry.
No.
Does
Nope.
anybody
Was it
have
The
a
sent via
copy?
digital
email?
journal, you mean?
The learning journal, yeah.
We received a digital journal, yeah.
Yeah, the digital journal.
Yes.
No.
Everyone would have received the digital journal via email as well as via the group. So if you don't have it, just check in the group. It would have been the first message I would have sent with all participants.
So I need you guys to
Wow.
go and look for that, and we will touch a little bit about it. It's a critical part for you to learn how to create your food safety plan for your farm or wherever your business. So we'll take a look at that tonight and we'll go through it tomorrow. Also,
Thursday.
yes? Was somebody saying something?
Yes, he said Thursday and not tomorrow.
Oh, yes, Thursday. Sorry, Thursday. And then I would like for somebody to volunteer to give us, just to summarize, on Thursday, 2 or 3 key learnings from this session. Okay? What are your learning objectives? What are the things that you expect to get from this? It's learning about food safety culture, its role in producing safe food. You would have get an understanding of microorganisms, know what they are and which one causes foodborne pathogens and foodborne illness. You will have learned about the main food safety hazard, kitchen and personal hygiene, and about farm food safety and how to use the tools in your kitchen to prevent foodborne illnesses. So those are the learning objectives. Any questions so far? You can type it in the chat or you can raise your hand. Okay. So why food safety and why food safety in an Ag-cademy for farmers? So food safety affects the health, the wealth, and reputation of countries across the globe. Food safety can make people sick. It can destroy businesses. It can destroy your reputation. And some companies don't recover from a food safety incident. So I know in the Caribbean, we don't have a lot of documented cases of foodborne outbreaks. And we'll talk a little bit about those. But I believe that it exists. So the problem is we don't have a good way of monitoring it. Or when we get sick, we say something I ate and there's nobody checking it. But if we were to try to track it like the other countries, we would see that we have a higher rate of foodborne outbreaks than we document. So what I will do just to introduce you into food safety and to get you going, recently they've had a number of huge outbreaks in the US. So in the past year, we used to have a lot of recalls in the US. However, everybody got excited, businesses were working on it. Unfortunately, in companies, food safety is seen as a project versus a way of life. And because of that, companies will put a program in place and forget about it. And when that happens, then you start seeing recalls because we forget the food safety program. We are more interested in product out the door and how much we can sell. And when we forget about those, this is what happened. So this is ongoing, happening now. I don't know how many of you heard of it from your family or in the news. So McDonald's had an E. coli outbreak, and we'll talk about E. coli during the course of this presentation. So far, 75 people got infected and 1 person died in this outbreak. So what do you think made the people sick if you were to take a guess? You can do it in the chat or you can put your hands up. What do you think would be the culprit for people being sick by eating McDonald's Big Mac? Any ideas?
We
Yes,
have some comments.
Clara, Hilton, go ahead.
I would say most likely maybe the lettuce. I know it's usually something with the vegetables.
Right on target. And this one is the onions. So right now they're saying it's the onions, right? Mostly you think it's the hamburger, but the hamburger used to be a big problem, but now they put laws that you cannot sell uncooked hamburgers. So the onions and the peppers and all of those produce you put on there, they don't have a kill step. So whatever you get from the farm, that's what you are going to get. And so McDonald's is turning that back to the onion supplier. In this case, they haven't proven why or how it got contaminated, but they've tracked it back to a supplier. And the supplier is Taylor Farms that produce the onions. The unfortunate thing is not just McDonald's. The supplier provided the onions for other companies. So you'll be seeing some recalls related to that. So can you imagine 75 people infected and 1 killed so far? And we'll talk about E. coli and the symptoms. Thank you, Kira. The next one is waffles and pancakes. Now this is from Treehouse, and they announced a voluntary recall. In the US, the recall is not mandatory, it's voluntary. But if you are a company, it's to your best interest to recall it because it will destroy your business if you don't. And most companies will recall it once they find out they've had a problem. So you have Treehouse announcing that they had waffle products and pancakes ready to eat that has monocytogenes. And Listeria monocytogenes is a pathogen that grows in refrigeration. So remember those organisms as we go around. They normally affect pregnant women and causes abortion. So right now, there's no illness related to it, and maybe that is because the waffles and the pancakes, they get heated before people eat them. Very few people will eat it frozen. So that might be a saving grace, right? Here's this other one, which is Delimit. And if you eat cold cuts, which I don't think it's a big thing in the Caribbean, but I don't eat cold cuts. It is the #1 source of contamination. You don't have a kill step. The slices are not properly clean. And because of that, Listeria, remember I said it grows in refrigerated temperatures? It's a good source of that. Now, this is the worst recall that they've had for Listeria since 2011. And that's huge because this is Listeria. Remember I said Listeria normally affects pregnant women. So 57 people got sick so far. 57 of them were hospitalized, and there's so far 9 deaths. As of last week, 1 more died to bring it up to 9. So this is huge. The latest one that happened on Sunday was salmon. Costco is recalling again for Listeria contamination concerns. And you say, why the salmon? Because again, Listeria can survive. When you kill all the other pathogens, Listeria stays around. It's not only microbial contamination. And if you have those on the shelf, those juice bottles, those little squeezy juice that we give our kids, there was a huge recall on it for lead and chromium poisoning. And it was linked to cinnamon applesauce pouches. So the cinnamon had a high level of lead. And you know, lead poisoning for kids has major impact. So if you have any of those on your shelf, the problem with the recalls that happen in the bigger countries, it takes a long time for those recall outbreaks to come to the countries like St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. So I remember there was a recall for cereal, and then I came to St. Lucia, and the shelf was still loaded with this recall cereal because they never got the notice to remove those recall products from the shelves, unfortunately. So be on the lookout. Now, this one is close to home. So how many of you heard of this, the crab vendor did anybody hear about the crab vendor video that went viral?
No.
So this,
Yes.
yes, this happened late last year. So in Jamaica, just like we just had June Creole, you have vendors on the street, they have it outside, and then one of the vendor shop, they sell crabs, right? Now, this vendor was a very famous vendor. Everybody went there to buy her crabs. Now, one of the other vendor, I guess, there was some jealousy, videotaped that poor woman using the bathroom in the cookhouse, cleaning herself, and then going right back to making crabs without gloves and without washing her hands. Pretty disgusting, but nobody knows that, right? She had diarrhea. So the lady taped all of that, and that video went viral. She lost her business. Nobody wants to go back there anymore. But the reason I want all of you to think about that, this one, we just had June Creole in St. Lucia. We had June Creole in Dominica. We have street fairs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have street fairs in every place we go, right? How many times do you see a hand wash station in those areas or bathroom stalls? Or somebody with sanitizer, if they're cooking, they may have gloves, but the hygiene practices around that is very minimal. Probably not as bad as Crab Lady, but think about it. When you serving food, there's no place to wash your hands. You're handling money, you're handling this, you're handling that. Cross-contamination is rampant. So when we have street vendors, that's a huge issue because we don't have the proper access for good hygienic practices. Now, for the Crab Lady, a good thing came out of it because it went viral and there's so many tourists. The Jamaican government, as a result, recreated the space and added bathroom stalls for those vendors. So something good came out of it. Now, I was very impressed when I got a news bulletin from the St. Lucia, the Ministry of Health. So in St. Lucia, they just went through Journée Creole. And one of the things that the Minister of Health did was send out a bulletin about food safety guidelines for Journée Creole. For those of us in St. Lucia who were, how many of you saw that? Did anybody get to see it?
No.
So that's the problem. So
Yes,
that
I
bulletin
did.
came out, but who saw it?
I did.
Oh, good. At least one person saw it. So it's like we need to do a better job with promoting those messages so people can get it. But that was a great first step. I was impressed that it came out. All right, so now that I gave you an idea about why food safety is important in everything you do. You don't have a business if you were to ever have a food safety problem. Crab Lady, her business, her livelihood went by the wayside. Nobody's gonna go back there and eat her food again. So this here, as we go in, I'll just give you a quick, it's not an answer, it's not a test, you're not being recorded for it, but it's gonna be an example. I'm gonna try to navigate it and hopefully I can come back to the presentation. Is Shaquanda already on? Otto? Hello?
Hi, good evening, Theo. Latoya here. Atto had to step out, so I'm here if you need anything.
All right, so if I can, hi Latoya, nice to see you.
Hi, you too.
All right, so you might have to go back and navigate. I might need your help, okay?
Alrighty, no problem. But
All right,
I'm using my phone. I hope that's not a problem.
not a problem at all. Hopefully we won't need it. So far,
All
so
right.
good. So guys, what this is, it's a quick test of your knowledge. It's nothing you have learned now. It's for you to test yourself. You don't have to prove it to anyone, just to get an idea of your knowledge, and then you'll do it again after. And you can use that program for everybody else. It's like Jeopardy. If you know the game, I'll give you the question, and then you have to answer it. So let me try to get in here for us to see.
You must be fun.
Hmm? All right, so let's do a practice one. Can you guys still see my desktop?
Yes.
Can everybody mute if you're not talking? Okay. So this one says good agricultural practices, and it says 100. So somebody in the group will pick one and say, give me good agricultural practice for 100. Then you will get an answer, a set of standards for safe, sustainable production of crops. And you have to give me the answer, what is GAP, good agricultural practices? Understand?
Could you put this in the chat, please?
You'll have the presentation. So now I need somebody to pick a number, and I know you guys are not shy, and
We
then take
can't
a go.
see.
The 100 is
see
supposed
the
to be
slide.
easier.
We're not seeing the screen for that.
You're not?
No.
Oh.
I don't see the screen either.
The screen is actually there. Test your food safety IQ, food safety jeopardy. Are you guys seeing that?
Yes, I do.
Yes, we are, but we need
Yes.
to see the heading for the different headings for the Jeopardy.
Well, that is not up as yet.
I clicked it on it, so they can't see it.
No.
We're
All
just
right, so
seeing
let's.
the link.
All right, so I clicked the link. So Latoya, maybe what we can do is come back at it towards the end.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
let me
sorry
get
about
out
the
of it.
lady. So we'll come back to it at the end.
But guys, it will be in the presentation and you can do it on your own, okay? Sorry about that. Okay, let's start food safety culture. So what's a culture? It's a way of life of an entire community. So the St. Lucia Ministry of Health putting out a bulletin on food safety practices during Journée Créole. That's a part of your food safety culture. Now, a culture is how do you do things? So don't think about food safety, take food safety out of it for a minute and think about when I say, what's the culture of St. Kitts and Nevis? What's the culture of the Grenadines? What's the culture of St. Lucia? What comes to mind? Now, think about that in terms of food safety. So when we talk about food safety culture is a shared value, it's shared beliefs, and the norms that affects the mindset and behaviors towards food safety in, across, and throughout an organization. So that's the GFSI definition of what a food safety culture is. Why is that important? Now, let's go back to Crab Lady. Crab Lady did not have a food safety culture because if we had a food safety culture in that area, they would know that if you use the bathroom, you have to wash your hands before you go back to handling food or using gloves or washing hand. So if you run a business, whether it's a home business, whether you're cooking at home, what are the cultures that you have in place to manage food safety? Are you thinking about when I'm cutting food, how am I preparing the food? And does everybody know that? On your farm, if you have workers, does the workers have training to know that they must wash their hands before going back to work, or that they cannot use the same tools that they use for manure to carry fresh food? So this is what a food safety culture is. Now, you may do it or you may not do it, or you may call it food safety culture. But for us to have a good food safety program and protect us, protect our customers, our family, our consumers, it must start with a food safety culture. Everybody must be thinking about food safety the same way everybody's thinking about the dollars you are going to make. Think about, I can't make the dollars if I sell my sugar apple and somebody got sick from it. They're gonna tell everybody that. Or if I go to the corner and somebody buys my bread and they find some disgusting stuff in it, nobody's gonna want to come back and buy my bread. So you have to have a food safety culture in place at your farm, in your home, in your market. And I know at the Helen's Daughters Market, that's one of the things that's practiced. You have to have the practices in place. I know when you handle food in most of the Caribbean islands, you're required to have a health certificate. But the health certificate doesn't matter if you are not practicing the principles of food safety. That when you're selling outside, you're not using the same hands you use to give change to handle the bread to put the saltfish in, or you're not making the dumplings or the bakes and also giving change or cross-contaminating it? What is that food safety culture that you are putting at your farm, at your home? So I'm gonna put this up here, and you can type it in your chart and tell me which statement does not reflect a good food safety culture. Again, which one does not affect a good food safety culture? So 1 second, let me get this out of the way. So is it all employees and owners are trained in food safety? All employees wash hands after using the bathroom. Hand washing is not always necessary on the farm because we are handling dirt. And food safety culture is a shared responsibility. So which one does not reflect a food safety culture? C, 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 C. Very good. So smart proof that you are. So C is the answer. Hand washing is not always necessary on the farm because we are handling dirt. That is a false statement. Hand washing is very necessary on the farm because you are handling dirt. So when you're handling your produce, hand washing is important. Now, when we go through the food safety programs, most of the programs we're going to talk about, it's going to impact produce. And the reason we do the ready-to-eat produce is because you eat them like this. You don't have a kill step. I'm not talking about the yams and the dashins and the bananas in some cases, because those are getting cooked, and most of the time you don't cross-contaminate them. So when I talk about food safety for your farm, I'm talking about agro-processing or produce. Keep that in mind, please. Hey. So the 4 steps of food safety is clean, separate, cook, and chill. So it sounds simple, right? First you have to clean, then you separate, cook, and chill. That's what food safety is about. Those 4 simple steps. If you remember nothing, remember that. Always clean your hands, keep the raw from the ready to eat, cook to a proper cooking temperature, and then chill whatever that is that needs to be chilled. So we can't leave food outside in the hot temperature and then eat it again. We must chill it if it requires chilling. So again, those are the 4 basic steps when you think about food safety. And it applies at home, in your store, when you go out, and on your farm. So what are food safety hazards? And I know most of you probably already know that. We have biological, we have physical, and then we have chemical. So those are the 3 hazards: biological, physical, chemical. And we'll talk about each of them as we go. And then there's foodborne illness and microorganisms. I gave you a little bit about what illnesses are, but what is foodborne illness? It's literally food poisoning. It's an infection or an irritation of your GI tract, so your inside. So when you eat something and you say, I don't feel well, most of the time it's food safety. And then
Yes.
most of the time,
Excuse
yes,
me, I'm sorry. Should we be seeing those slides?
yes, you're not seeing it?
No, the slide I'm seeing says food
Oh, it
safety
said
culture.
it's paused, sorry.
No.
Okay, sorry about that. Resume. Can you see it now?
No, we are seeing the first slide.
It says I'm sharing. Did you not see it since after I tried the video one? So how did you guys see the C? When did you stop seeing it?
It was stuck on the
question.
was stuck on the question.
Right after that slide.
So what are you seeing now?
Basic principles of food safety.
Okay, so you're seeing it now, right? Can everybody see it
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So here we go again. I'm going to go back and just give you a quick look. So we talked about the 4 steps of food safety. Did you guys see that slide before or no?
No, we didn't see it.
All right, so those are the 4 steps we talked about. Clean, separate, cook, and chill. Then I talked about the hazards being biological, physical, and chemical. And we talk about foodborne illnesses. What is foodborne illness? We said it's food poisoning. It's an infection or an irritation of your GI tract. It can be caused by food or beverage that contains bacteria or chemical or virus. Bacteria, parasites, virus, or chemical. You guys are still seeing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so food poisoning. The number 1 cause of food poisoning is improper cooking and storage of food. Poor hygiene comes in second. So number 1 is improper cooking if you don't cook the food properly, poor hygiene. I'll give you an example of, I went to a wedding and it was home catered wedding and everybody brought something and somebody brought a big pot of rice. It was a Jamaican wedding. And before the wedding was over and everybody was going home, everybody was sick and throwing up and diarrhea, and it was bad. The bride and groom didn't get sick. I didn't get sick. But the problem was that they call it the Chinese syndrome. The person had cooked the rice overnight, a big pot, and let it cool on the stove. They didn't refrigerate it. So the rice, when you cook the rice, you have spores, bacillus spores, which germinates and it produces a toxin which stays in the rice and can make you sick immediately. So improper cooking and storage. So the person had cooked the food in a smaller container or cool it down, that wouldn't be a problem. But they didn't cool it down and it stayed out because most people think rice is safe. What's wrong with rice, right? Why you have to cool rice? I see a lot of people leave the rice on the stove, so be very careful. The people at the highest risk of dying from food poisoning are the very young children and the elderly and people who are immunocompromised. So if you ever had food poisoning, you will know food poison doesn't kill you, it just makes you wish you were dead. I got sick in Mexico. I have never been that sick in my life. And that's because as careful as I was with the water, I ate a tamarind ball that they used the water. And like I said, it didn't kill me, but I wish I was dead. So it's nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So if anybody ever had food poisoning, you'll know about it. About 600 million cases of foodborne illness per year. That's globally. And those numbers are higher because this is about 5 years old. It takes a long time to get this data. 420,000 deaths. 30% of foodborne deaths occur in children, our most vulnerable population. So, who can guess how many cases of foodborne illnesses per year occurs in the Caribbean? Not just one island. Now, CAFTA has data. The data is very, very old. This data is from 2018. But can anybody take a wild guess of what that number is? Or do we even have numbers? What do you think? Put your hands up, or you can just speak out.
There
0.
isn't
What?
there isn't any numbers because they're not recorded.
Yeah, but they have a little bit. Like I said, they recorded it since 18. Here's the number, and that's for all of the Caribbean. 1 in 49 or 142 is what they're saying the numbers are. And I will tell you that number is extremely low because of what you said. It's not recorded. So foodborne illness, there's no cure for it. There's no cure for foodborne poisoning. What there is a cure for is the symptoms. So if you are dehydrated, they can give you a lot of fluid. If your inside is damaged, like E. coli, the kids, their intestines ruptured, so they can fix that. But foodborne illness or foodborne poisoning has to literally drive the bugs out of your system. You can fix the outcome of it, but foodborne illness, there's no cure for it. There's cure for the symptoms. So if you have it, drink plenty of fluid, practice good hygiene, don't spread it around. Most people recover on their own without treatment. Seek medical help if you have bloody diarrhea. And bloody diarrhea is because it's mostly E. coli that causes bloody diarrhea because it breaks down your intestine. Avoid over-the-counter medicine. So now what they're saying about over-the-counter medicine, if you have foodborne illness, me included, we tend to take Pepto-Bismol or one of those. They tell you to avoid it because what does the Pepto-Bismol do? It stops the symptoms, but it stops the bacteria from flushing out of your system. So the diarrhea and the vomiting, you need to let that go because what it's doing, it's flushing the bacteria and the toxin out of your system. Taking the ammonia and other medicine will extend and keep the bacteria inside of you longer. I know a lot of people say, well, what do you mean? But avoid it if you can. Symptoms typically occur within 6 to 74 hours after consuming the food, and they can last from a few hours to days. So let's quickly go into microorganisms. So what are microorganisms? They're classified as the good, the bad, and the ugly. So good microorganisms, here's some examples of them. The yogurt, the penicillin, cheese because they have lactics in them. My favorite, wine and beer because they have fermented organisms that give them that flavor. Penicillin, when you get sick, this is a mold. So those are the good guys. In the yogurt, you have for the microflora, gut health in yogurt, you have those bacteria, which is lactic acid bacteria, which is good for your gut. The bad ones will spoil your food, but they will not make you sick. And most of the time you can see it. Now you say that's disgusting, and I know some of us have done it. You can cut a piece of that rotten mango right here and eat the rest of it and nothing will happen to you. Because this is a mold or rotten wine, and it doesn't make you sick. Most of the bad organisms, they just have the up factor in it, like the sour milk. It will not make you sick. So it's just a disgusting factor. You don't want to see it. Now, the ugly or the dangerous microorganisms, Salmonella, Listeria, E. coli, hepatitis, those microorganisms, all of those you cannot see with the naked eyes except the mold. Those microorganisms, when they get in your food, you cannot tell if the food is spoiled. It's not smelling. The food quality looks fine. So do not taste food if you think or you suspect is bad, because I like to say one finger lick might be your last. If you have a can that's swollen, don't taste it. That's botulism, most likely. Don't ask your friend, that don't smell good. Why don't you taste it? Don't taste. So those organisms are called pathogenic microorganisms, right? Pathogens can be food infection or food intoxication. So if you have an infection, you are actually eating the bacteria in the food. If you have an intoxication, the bacteria has to grow inside the food and then make you sick. Like the rice I told you about from the wedding. So people who ate that rice, they got sick, not from the bacteria, but from the toxin that it produced. Now, this toxin can stay there for a while, and because it goes straight to your system, your symptoms will happen faster. That's why the people at the wedding got sick right away. If it's an infection, like you had salmonella, it will take you 1 to 2 days before it make you sick because the bacteria has to grow. Then you have to eat it to a number, and then that makes you sick. I'm going to stop here for a little bit before we go further. If you have any questions or anything that you need explained, I'm assuming you are still seeing my slide. Okay.
Yes,
Good
we
night
are.
to you.
Yeah.
I have mine is very simple. What was
Yeah.
the number you said from CAFA in terms
Oh,
of the
1 in
reporting?
49.
Oh,
So
okay.
142, I think it was, thousand for all of the Caribbean.
1,000.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. But I still think it's higher, and that number is very old. It was from 2018. Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Hi, good night. Sorry to interject. I think there is a question in the chat from Alexander.
Okay,
It
go
was
ahead, Alexander. Can somebody
it
read
was
it?
sorry. It was asking about the probiotics. I didn't know if you spoke about that to some effect because I just came. So she was asking about the probiotics.
I think you're muted.
Yes, what was the question? The probiotics. So the yogurt has lactic acid bacteria that causes that produces acid and the probiotic in there. So when you eat yogurt, what you are eating is lactic acid bacteria. Yes? You got it? Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, I do it.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we're hearing you. Yes, we're
Okay.
hearing you.
So the leading cause of food poisoning, we talked about chicken. 1 second, let me move this out. So that's the leading cause of food Campylobacter, and it's found in chicken, and source of eating or touching raw or undercooked chicken. Now, we'll talk about chicken as we go a little later, but Campylobacter, most people don't hear about it, but it's like salmonella. Okay. 1 second, my slide stuck again. There we go. So what are the signs of salmonella? Sorry, guys. Here's the other one. It's salmonella. And salmonella, a lot of you have heard of salmonella, and it's a cause of foodborne poisoning. And most of the time, all of those pathogens, if you cook the food properly and chill them, except for listeria, you'll be good. But most of those are because people are eating the food raw or half cooked. So undercooked food such as eggs or chicken, raw cookie dough. You know how when we were growing up, we used to make well, we still do it. When we bake the cake, we let the kids lick the pan. The reason that's not good because you're using flour, which has salmonella in it, and then you're using the egg and salmon and powder both have salmonella in it, and it's not cooked. So there was a big recall where McDonald's again gave the kids, no, it was Taco Bell, sorry. It was around the holidays and they were giving the kids little balls of dough. And a lot of people got sick because they were eating the raw dough. It had E. coli in it. Again, the symptoms are stomach cramps, nausea, fever, diarrhea, chills, and vomiting. So I like to, it sounds a little disgusting because you can have either a 1 bucket disease or 2 bucket disease. The 2 bucket disease is where you have both the diarrhea and the vomiting. This one is a 2 bucket disease. So again, when you have this type of contamination, this one, it's raw or undercooked ground beef product. It's typically a fecal contamination of produce, like what McDonald's is experiencing right now. So probably in the onions field, there was some source of animal feces or somebody didn't use the proper hygiene. And it could be one small onion, but the problem with those onions, if you have one contaminated and then you chop them up, so that increases the level of exposure. The signs in this one again, stomach cramps, nausea, fever, bloody diarrhea, another 2 bucket one. Now, Listeria is one of the latest pathogens. Now, again, most people did not hear about Listeria, but the last 4 recalls I mentioned were all Listeria. And Listeria is interesting in that it's the only pathogen that will survive your refrigeration. And that's why deli meats and other cold products are very risk adverse for those organisms. And Listeria will cause fetal death for pregnant women. If you are healthy, you don't get sick by it. It's mostly people who have pregnant women and infants. So if you are planning to have babies, you shouldn't be working around products that have Listeria. When I used to work in the lab, the women who were of childbearing age weren't allowed to work with products that contain Listeria risk. The risk was too high for them. But this is an organism that's causing a lot of illness right now, simply because it can survive refrigeration. Soft cheeses, raw milk, cold cuts, and Sprout. Now, Sprout is a very unique one. If you go into the restaurants and you get all your little Sprouts decked out on your salad, if you eat out, make sure you tell them don't put any Sprouts on your food for you, please, because that will be the death of you. The Sprouts are notorious for contamination. Canning, a lot of us will do canning. Canning can be very dangerous now. Most companies don't have botulism outbreak. The outbreaks are from home canning. So if you are going to can your food or can your product, you have to be very careful to make sure you cook it, you take away all the oxygen, cool it down, so you are not getting botulism poisoning, because Clostridium doesn't want air. It will grow very well in an anaerobic, we call it. So there's no oxygen available. The symptoms of it is a swollen can or a swollen jaw. If you see that, throw away, don't taste. Because botulism can be very deadly. It's said that if you put 1 teaspoon of the toxin in the New York City water, it's enough to make everybody sick. Now think about that. that same toxin is what people use for Botox, which I think is very risky, but what we do for beauty. So when you hear that the people get Botox and they can't talk the next day, they really are injecting the botulism toxin in their face to paralyze the skin and paralyze their face and make the wrinkles go away. I think that's a little bit too much for beauty, but some people, that's what they do. So you have chemical hazards, and under your chemical hazard is your pesticide. And once you use pesticide in the Caribbean, we use a lot of pesticide. When we used to have the bananas, we still use pesticide. Overusing the pesticide is hard. And if you are going to sell food outside of your area, there's a huge testing undergoing at the border. And for residual amounts of pesticides, your food can be rejected. Food allergy is the #1 cause of illness before Salmonella, before Listeria. And the food allergies, if you know of anybody who has food allergies, I know in the Caribbean, we don't think we have a big problem with food allergies, but I'm sure we do. Again, we don't know. I have a niece, she's highly allergic to peanuts. Her father ate some peanuts somewhere, peanut butter. He came home, he thought he cleaned his hands and he kissed her on the cheek and she broke out. Luckily for them, they had the EpiPen, but food allergies is important. Why is it important to you as farmers? You need to know what are your foods that you are making that can be an allergen. There's a list of foods that's allergic. I will put that in the chat for you. So eggs, peanuts, celery sensitivity, the big 8, they call them, dairy. But the #1 is peanut allergies, peanuts and nuts. So if you are farming nuts or you're farming other allergic food, make sure you have a program so you don't cross-contaminate. Or when you're selling food as a vendor, make sure you notify people if you have any of those allergies in the food. And if we don't have it, even we say we don't have it as a nation, but we are big to mushroom, yes, is another one. Mushroom is not really considered one of the big 8s, but it's sensitive, yeah. When you have tourists coming to our country, and then they have allergic reactions, so be very careful about food allergies. And physical hazard, although seafood, yes, very good. I forgot about seafood. Thank you, Julianne. Physical hazard is not, can be bad, but not as bad, because most of the time you'll have dental problems. But in one recall where we had a recall where the screen broke and pieces of the wire went into the cereal, and they were really small. And we went to the FDA and we told the FDA, because of the size of it, that we believe we were safe. But the FDA physician said, no, you're not safe, because the wire can cause, if you inhale the wire, if a child eats it, the little piece of wire can scratch or bleed and rupture the intestine. So think about that when you do your food and you have metal in it. The other hazard of nuts and bolts, and then seeds and those pits, they're really not considered hazard as much, but you need to be aware of them because they can cause dental problem. I'm gonna skip the Jeopardy section again. I will leave it in your books. And if we have time towards the end, maybe I'll try it again. Sorry about that. So this is what I just went through, and I'm going to stop for questions if you have any. Those were the basic principles of food safety. You probably learned that in school or you heard it from somewhere, but those are the fundamentals of food safety. And I want you to think about those. You don't have to be an expert, but be aware of it and what's causing it. Alita said she bought bread at a bakery and found rat shit in it. That's very possible because they probably don't have, first of all, how you know it's rat shit, but but yes, again, you have to be careful where you buy food. And if you are in the business of preparing food, follow the practices. If you are a customer, demand good food safety principles. So Clearer, you have a question?
Yes. With regards to the cheese, when there's mold on cheese, some persons say if you just cut it off, you can eat it. But then I have also heard that the spores that they go deep down, although you don't see them, they go deep down into the cheese. So once you see the mold at the top, you have to throw away the whole block of cheese. Which one is correct?
So if it's moldy cheese, the mold, even the mold spores won't make you sick, right? They will not give you a foodborne poisoning. So you can cut off the piece of cheese and eat it because molds are not pathogenic. Now, having said that, if it's listeria, which grows well in refrigerator temperatures, you can't see it to cut it off. It will look normal, right? And unsuspecting, and you can eat it and make you sick. But mold, for most part, is not a foodborne poisoning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So yes, you can, it's just disgusting. You can cut it. You know, another place where mold becomes disgusting, it's, those the pouches we give our kids to drink, the Capri Sun, the apple juice pouches and those boxes. Mold grows very well in that. And because you cannot see it and you're drinking from the box, we used to make Capri Sun, or I used to work for Capri Sun, and we'd get complaints that the people had dead rats, they had condoms, you name it. What it was mold. And the mold was picking up the color of the juice, and it just looks totally disgusting. So what we did to fix that, so we tried to stop the mold from getting to the product, but also made the pouches clear so parents can see before their kids drink it. It didn't make you sick. It's a gross factor that's so high. You want to think you swallowed that. So yeah, that would make you feel sick.
There's 2 questions in the chat.
Okay.
One is from Cassandra. She was asking, can you get food poisoning from expired canned food or any food for that matter?
Well, you can get food poisoning from canned foods, especially. For most part, if the canned food is intact, the food is good and it can last for years. However, if you see any form of swelling, like the bottom of the cans has a little bulgy, that one can kill you. And I know I've gone in some of the stores where they have those products and they put it on sale because the can is dented or there's something wrong with the can. Do not buy those cans. Because what happened is the can may get a little prick that lets air into it and causes the spores that's already in there to germinate. And that's the deadly, deadly botulism.
All right, thank you so much. The second question is from Althea. When curry don't burn or cook properly, can you also get food poisoning?
From curry?
Yeah, burnt curry.
Oh, burnt curry, that in itself doesn't cause food poisoning, but if you have something in there, a spore or something, but the curry itself is not typically associated with foodborne poisoning. Maybe there's some other illness that it will cause, but not foodborne.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions from the chat.
All right, great. Thank you so much for catching that questions for me because I'm having problem navigating through it. All right, so let's move into kitchen and personal hygiene. So I'm gonna try to play this video for you, or should I save? I will come back to the video and play it later because I don't want to interrupt the flow. Are you guys okay with that? It was a little video about kitchen hygiene, and I have 2 of those, but I don't know if I can get it to work. Shoshana, are you there? Can we try it or come back?
Sorry, my internet was coming in and going. Can you repeat what you said, please?
Somebody say play it. I want to try to play the video, but the last time I tried to do the Jeopardy question, I wasn't able to. So I'm gonna try it. Somebody say try it. We'll try it.
Yes.
And tell me if you guys can see it.
Kitchens do a lot of work for our families.
Can you see
Meals
it?
are prepared, drinks are poured and spilled.
We can hear it, but not.
You can hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you can send me the link and I can share it to the group afterwards.
Okay, it's in the presentation.
Right, so I will share the presentation with them afterwards.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, sorry about that.
I think probably what's happening is it's playing, but it's opening maybe in a new tab, and that tab is not shared.
Okay, let me try that. Yeah, I'm gonna pass that because I don't know how to share the tab. Anybody has ideas? Oh, wait.
You can send it to me. Let me try and see if I
You
can.
have it in the
Oh,
presentation.
yeah. It'll take a while to set up.
Yeah, try to see if you can get it and then we'll come back.
All right, no problem.
All right, ladies, sorry about that. All right, so let's go back to kitchen hygiene. Are you guys still seeing my desktop?
Yes, I do. I see a table with a lot of people on.
Yes, and good food, and it makes you feel good, right? Family, good food. So imagine you in this kitchen, you invited to dinner, and this is what you see. And then somehow you have to go and either get some water, and then you turn around and you see this, right? That would be the crab lady, kind of. She's in the back there doing her business and come back and sell the crab. That's equivalent to that. What does that make you feel? Because you couldn't tell it was that bad outside, right? That's the same thing in restaurants or when you go out, you have to be so careful because you don't know what's happening. So there's no food safety culture going in there. Now, if you are thinking food safety, even though it's not your friends, your mindset tells you cleanliness is next to godliness. And if you don't know anything about food safety, you know cleanliness is number one. And if you're going to prepare food for people to eat, that you have to put it in a clean place. You immediately leave, yeah, and have somewhere to go. That is very true. I always, when I go into the restaurant, before I sit down, I find myself behind that kitchen. And it's very easy to get to the back of those kitchen, let me tell you. All right, so let's go back and look at this picture that I have and start typing what you see wrong with this picture. Put it in the chat. If you have anything else to share, just click the top of the Zoom window where it says share. Yeah, that's why I shared it, but it didn't share the video. Somebody saw a roach, yes.
I see the road.
Garbage exposed, pests, the bin is uncovered, meat next to fruit. garbage spilling over,
The fridge is overflowing.
dirty dishes, being not covered. Yes, you guys are good. What do you see in the fridge? See, the fridge has stuff dripping out of it.
Some blood over it. I don't know if it's raw meat.
Blood. Blood on
Yeah,
top of the refrigerator.
Oh, where's the blood from? You think they have a dead body in there?
Maybe the meat is not
The
proper.
meat, right? This one is exaggerated, I hope. But so let's see. So you guys got most of it. The fridge has too much going on. Yes. So you have the roaches up on the top, the sponge. Why is the sponge a problem? Anybody?
Because
Sponge
it's on
is
the
holds a lot
stove.
of bacteria.
Yeah, sponge is a hotel for bacteria. And then you have we talked about contamination, the fruits and the raw meat, the pots and pans, and the overflow garbage, and the refrigeration. So all of that is areas. The reason why this is a problem, because this is areas where you can harborage pathogens and have it in your food. The one thing that we don't think about, and we can't help it, but in the Caribbean, during the mango or the fruit seasons, we have so much flies. And whenever I see a fly touch my food, I have to throw it out, because then my head goes into where did those little legs go? So flies and roaches are very disgusting, and they can carry so much germs that we need to try to keep them away from food that we sell or food that we eat. Because those flies and the roaches, they are going into feces, into drains, into places where we don't have hygienic conditions, and they land on your food. And one little leg, a little touch of that leg carry millions of germs. So keep that in mind. So food storage. What can you think? This is a nicely stored fridge. Your food is stored properly. Can you see anything wrong with this? Anybody? Raw meat? What about the raw meat? You need to refrigerate it.
Yes, the meat has to be in the freezer.
No, not necessarily. I will tell you to defrost your meat in the refrigerator. That's not quite it.
The meat isn't properly stored.
It's
Needs to
not
be
properly stored. How? Why?
The meat supposed to be the bottom, and then the cooked food supposed to be the top one. You cannot
Bingo. Exactly. The blood will leak. Exactly. So you want to keep the ready-to-eat products at the top. Now, your food, your meats and your raw food, they have to be refrigerated, because you don't want to keep them on the counter to get spoiled, right? And for bacteria to grow. So you have to defrost them in the refrigerator or keep them in the refrigerator, but you put them in the bottom so that they are not contaminating your fruits and your vegetables. And when we talk about fruits and vegetables, once they get contaminated, it's really, really, really difficult to clean them. So the proper way to protect your food is first label it properly, and then store the ready to eat on top and the raw in the bottom. Okay? You guys will have the access to this presentation. So we talk about temperature, and we say temperature is key to protect us from food safety. We have to have the proper temperature available to keep the food safe. So I need you guys to, when you get this presentation, you can make a copy of it, put it in your place of business, or put it on your fridge at home, so you can have a guide for you, your family, your employees, of what is the risk, right? And where they will grow. So you see the danger zone? You guys can see this, right?
Yes.
That's where you have
Yes.
to keep food so they don't spoil. Now, if you have temperatures at 18, the organism does not, the bacteria don't multiply and they don't grow. Except which one will grow in there? Do you guys remember what I said?
Listeria.
Listeria, yes. Listeria it will not grow, but it will survive. That's a very important chart, so you can have it available to you. All right, so here's a little game. We talked a little bit about it. What is the food safety risk of eating raw batter or dough? Anybody?
I think you said salmonella.
No.
Salmonella, what else?
Is it something with the yeast that can affect your stomach?
No, not the yeast. It's E. coli and Listeria and Salmonella are the key. Because flour, most people think flour is not a problem. But flour, there's so many flour recalls for E. coli and Salmonella. Because if you think of flour and how you make it, it's in the dirt, it's in the ground, it's supposedly raw. If you cook it properly, it's not a problem. However, once you make the dough, we have a way of eating or tasting the dough and spread. You see all that flour that's spread around? It can go into our ready-to-eat products and contaminate it. The batter is the same thing. I know in my days, I've taste the batter, and we say it never made us sick, but how do we know? We got a little stomachache and we just thought it was nothing, right? So raw batter, this one has egg and it has the flour. Now yeast in the bacteria, in the food, yeast is one of the good guys, and it's a good guy or a bad guy. Sorry, a good and it's not an ugly guy. Good in that it causes the bread to rise, right? Bad because if you put it in there, it can sour or produce gas, but it will not make you sick, not from a foodborne poisoning. It might make your stomach upset if you have a sensitivity, but it won't be a foodborne poisoning. Okay?
Miss?
Yes?
So all the older folks just say not to eat the raw like bread dough because these could make. Does these have any negative impact on your system if you eat it? The raw dough with in it?
So people didn't know why they tell you not to eat it, but that's because it has the bacteria in it that would make you sick. Now, does it affect your system in a non-pathogenic way? It could be. Maybe the acidity that it produces can affect your stomach. I don't have any scientific evidence to tell you that, but it might be that you have a sensitivity to the acidity of the yeast. But the bigger problem here is the foodborne poisoning. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Theo, I have a question.
Yes.
It's Christmas, and so we have what we refer to as punch de creme. And so we use a lot of eggs and milk, but I know also rum is added. Would that provide enough protection?
Yes.
It
Now,
would, okay.
the rum, well, you need a lot of rum in there because the rum is like a preservative. So that will prevent some of the bacteria from growing. It's just like when people eat raw oysters, and they tell you if you eat the oysters, you won't get sick if you drink a lot of alcohol before you consume the oyster. because then it neutralizes the pathogen. So definitely reduces the risk. The alcohol acts as a preservative. So happy eating. Again, we talked about this one already a little bit. The oxtail is sitting here, and you're welcome, Korea. So you have the oxtail on here, thawing the marinated meat on the counter and kitchen sink. So I have this problem in my house. And my partner is hearing me. He's from Jamaica. He grew up with a Jamaican parent. And he said he never killed nobody. And his parents always tell him there's nothing wrong with defrosting food on the counter. So can somebody tell me why that's a problem now that you've had a little bit of your experience? Why is it bad to defrost food on the countertop at room temperature? You can type it in the chat or you can tell me what you think. Because I know a lot of us do it.
Well, for me, if I leave it over the counter like that, open air like that, you can get a lot of flies, you can get dirt, you can get a lot of things from over it, and it's not supposed to be open like that in the thing. You can leave it the bowl, cover the bowl properly and things like that, and let it frost instead. Because like that, a lot of things can go over the meat. And
yes.
Especially when you leave it out like that, flies come in and you don't know.
Yes.
Other things come in and you don't know. A cockroach, you don't know.
That's true. That's true.
Yes, cover it, put it in a pan properly or bowl. Cover it properly and let it defrost inside the bowl.
Okay, so then you were doing really well until you say cover it and put it in the bowl. The problem is covering it keeps away contamination from flies, right? But what it doesn't do, all of those food that you see raw, they come with their bacteria in them already. And that's why we have to cook them. In addition to cooking them to make them delicious, we're cooking them to kill the bacteria. And the levels are not high, but bacteria grows very, very, very rapidly at temperature. Remember that chart I just showed you? Now, if you keep this at room temperature, this is a rapid growth for the bacteria. They'll multiply in seconds from 10 to 100 to 1,000,000 in a minute. So as you defrost the food or you leave it on the countertop, the bacteria gets a chance to grow to a level that may cause toxin, or you might not cook it enough to destroy the bacteria because the level went too high. All right? Somebody say putting it in water. Again, it's time and temperature. If you put it in water for a short time, hot water, for a short time, that's fine. The danger is leaving it out at a at room temperature or higher for a period, and they say exceeding 2 hours, so 2 hours max. The better way to defrost food is in your refrigerator because then the bacteria doesn't grow. It will take longer, but it will not grow. So you have to plan ahead. You can't just put it out, or you can heat it in the microwave if you have one, or overnight in your refrigerator. Or if you have to defrost it outside, do it for a short period of time. Now, a lot of the misconception is if the food is frozen and it's not completely thawed out, it's fine because the center might still be frozen. So you think you're okay, but you're not okay because the bacteria is growing on the outside of where that's thawed out. So just ideas to think about when you think about those things. Some Brunette says, I've seen a supermarket or food vendor defrost their meat on the outside. I'm not saying it's not happening. It happens all the time, unfortunately, because we don't see anything wrong with it. So this is just an awareness for you. Rhonda has her hands up.
Good evening. Question. What if you defrost it outside with in vinegar water? Still have it grow bacteria?
It will. You see, it says storing or marinating meat on the counter. Now, if you have salt or something else like a preservative on it, but that's a lot of
Yes.
salt you will need. It will be too salty.
Okay.
It will delay it, but it won't stop it. So
Okay.
if you marinate it, you have to put it in there. And again, the other thing is if you marinate it, you might have little pockets that doesn't get marinated and it will grow. And some of those food, the bacteria is on the inside too, and the marination is only on the surface. So the inside, the bacteria is growing in there. All right, let's move to the next slide. Any one more question? All right, we'll go to the next one and don't kill me on this one.
Yes, Miss, I have one question. Is it safe to have food defrost, or is it a good practice to have food defrost in the microwave? Or
Yes, that's a very good practice. Now, I know people say microwave will give you a second head or it'll give you UV and all those things. That may be true, I don't know. But I defrost my food in the microwave all the time. Oh, and the reason I do that is because I normally don't have the time to think ahead and defrost it in the fridge. So I defrost it in the microwave. So from a microbial standpoint, it's safe. Now, from a UV standpoint, using the microwave, I don't know about that one. But from a microbial standpoint, it's actually one of the safest way to do it because it's quick and it doesn't give the bacteria time to grow. Okay? But if you put it in the microwave, make sure that you decontaminate the microwave after you finish. Either it's sealed in a package, or if you put it in the microwave, make sure you are decontaminating. That means you are cleaning it before you put other food in there. Okay, so is defrosting in the fridge completely safe, or the lesser of the two evil? Can defrosting food? Yes, defrosting in the fridge is safe because, I mean, you don't let it stay there for days and days and days. I'm talking about overnight. If you defrost it and you leave it for a whole week, yeah, that's a problem too, because the bacteria is gonna grow slowly in there. So it's a short time. Again, with bacteria, is time and temperature. Okay, so I say that and everybody in the class thinks it's pretty nasty and disgusting. But the CDC and other countries tell you do not rinse your turkey or your chicken. The feedback I get is good. Oh, that is just so nasty. How could you not wash the chicken? How many people are saying that now? Why do you think they tell us not to wash the
Miss, we
chicken?
just say nasty.
Yeah, Decina Haywood said, yeah, she's saying it's nasty. A lot of us in the West Indies thinks it's nasty because we have chicken blood and we have all this. Is it okay to leave the meat that seasoned in the fridge for more than a day? Yes, you can leave the meat that is seasoned for a few days because the growth is less. But let's go back to our chicken over here. So the simplest way they say is not to spread the chicken, not to wash the chicken. And the reason that guideline is given is because you cannot get pathogen-free chicken. Chicken or raw meat on its own is contaminated with pathogenic bacteria, the ugly bacteria. When you cook it, and you cook it properly, we all have heard that when we cook the chicken, when we go to the barbecue, the chicken has to be fully cooked. We get that. That's one thing we do well in the Caribbean. We cook our food to death. We don't believe in that rare or medium rare. Most of the time we cook the heck out of the food. In the chicken and in the turkey, you see how the pipe is washing it? If I was to put a color in that pipe, what you would see is that the water particles that falls on that chicken will be spread everywhere. So you spreading bacteria by washing the chicken that way. It's very easy to spread the bacteria from the chicken onto your surfaces that you probably not gonna see that it's dirty, and you're probably gonna miss it when you rinse it. If you have your dish pan next side, all of that. So it, especially the turkey, if you're cooking a turkey, because it's so big that you are going to spread the germs. Now, having said that, if you are, and most West Indians believe they are very clean and we can clean our chicken, there's a way to do it. Be aware that when you are cleaning that chicken, if you are aware that the process of cleaning it, it's a high risk of spreading germs, and you take all the necessary precautions, like washing it in a bucket instead of in the sink, or if you wash it, decontaminate with a little cap of bleach in all the spots. Although this is good, sometimes we miss them, because remember, all you need is a droplet to get millions of bacteria. Yes, keep a bleach infection spray nearby on your hands, on your face. So that is why they say it's easier to tell people not to wash it and cook it the way it is, because you're gonna cook all the blood and everything else. Is not gonna kill you, whatever you cook. But if you are insisting on washing it, be aware of the risk of spreading the germs and cross-contaminating it and not being able to clean it. Okay? Awareness, awareness, awareness. So the other thing we talked about now is, so we talked about the bacteria, we talk about handling, we talk about kitchen hygiene, then we talk about our personal hygiene. And we all here take pride in our personal hygiene, right? Washing our hands. COVID did a lot of things, but I think one of the things COVID did well, not just for the Caribbean, but everywhere, is washing your hands regularly. Although some people are forgetting that. I travel a lot, and it amazes me the amount of people at the airport that go to the bathroom and they don't wash their hands. There's like a million sink waiting for them. They just go to the bathroom, and you heard them do a number 2. Even though they didn't do a number 2, they just walk out and don't wash their hands. So hand washing regularly is important. So now when it is yuck, and I will tell them, did you forget something? Now my partner tells me somebody's gonna beat me up. But I'm like, hey, it'd be nice to wash your hands, you know? I didn't do anything. I'm like, the fact you went to the bathroom is enough to wash your hands. So washing your hands, thinking about it, practicing it, because you're gonna meet somebody, you're gonna touch their hands, you're gonna touch this, you're gonna touch that. Hand washing is critical. In the US, on the number one thing people get at the factories where we get ding for is hand washing. Because the workers will drop something on the floor, they will pick it up, they'll put it back and not wash their hands. So hand washing, it's easy, but effective. Like we said, after they're using the bathroom, we have to shower, bathe, we say at least once a day, especially for workers that comes to work. It's important that we don't spread germ. Yes, and we'll take the pipe on the hand wash. Yes, that is true. And the reason why you can't just wash your hand with water, you need to clean and sanitize. Washing doesn't get rid of the bacteria. Sanitizing Washing get rid of, let me put it this way, washing your hand gets rid of the dirt. It doesn't get rid of the bacteria. The sanitizer and the soap is what gets rid of bacteria. Again, washing with water will get rid of dirt. Soap and sanitizer is needed to get rid of bacteria. Remember that? Our clothes have to be clean. You don't want to go to a restaurant, your first sign you see the person that's serving you have greasy clothes in front of them, so you know what happens in the food they're serving you. Again, it's at your house. Same thing you do for you. When you cook your food, when you go to the market, you want to be presentable, you want to be clean, because you are going to give somebody something for them to enjoy and eat, and you want to make sure that you are taking care of your customers. Do not prepare food when you're sick. As an employer, if you have people, I know workers are really hard to come by. If you are getting people, somebody comes in sick, put them on a different job. Don't put them where they have exposure to food. If they're coughing, if they have a cut on their hands, give them a job that's not handling food. If you can, make them stay home. And you yourself, if you are sick, I know we are coughing, we are all of that. We need to go to work because our employer is going to be mad at us. But try to stay home or stay away from food. And cover or expose cuts or wounds. So those are common sense things. But if we're not thinking about it, if we do not have a food safety culture where we think about that and it's top of mind, then we forget. Those food I talked about where we have the recall, recalls can be prevented if we follow the practices and the good hygiene practices. The big companies do it because at the end of the day, unfortunately, we think about the dollars, the cases out the door. And the food safety culture is the last thing that comes in. As the head of food safety, in my prior jobs, you know how many times I had to fight with my boss to get money to fix a line or get money to do this or time to shut down the line. So it's not just you guys, it's everywhere. The bigger companies worse because they have the money and they don't prioritize food safety. So we still have a way to go. So much to do. And food safety, if you remember one thing, it is not a program, it's a way of life. You don't do it one time and then go away. People like to cough without covering their mouths. Also sneezing people on another, that is just so horrible. Yes, if you have to sneeze, you sneeze in your arm if you have to, or cough, or cover your mouth with gloves. Again, good personal hygiene practice helps prevent the transfer of dangerous microorganisms to food and to other people too, but to food because we're talking about food poisoning. Hand wash with soap and water. Remember, the soap takes care of the bacteria, the water takes care of the dirt. Brush your teeth at a minimum twice per day, morning and night. Our parents used to say, brush your teeth before you in the morning and after. Wash your body often, wear clean clothes, and seek medical advice if you are sick. Remember, if you have food poisoning, there's no cure for it, but the symptoms of food poisoning. So if it's causing you to have diarrhea or something else is going on, they can take care of that. But if you have food poisoning, the best way is to let it run its course. Okay, so we've come to the end of the presentation and we have 49 minutes left for Q&As or to try to play one of the videos. Somebody said they don't like to shake hands at all. I don't shake hands. And I tell people why I don't shake hands. I can't be worried about people because you don't know where that person's hands come from. Or if I have to shake hands, I sanitize my hands after. It's rude to some people, but yeah, I don't shake hands. I'll hug you first instead of shaking hands. All right, who's helping me?
I
with
am
the video?
Shaquana.
Shaquana, do you have the presentation?
I have it here. I'm gonna try to share my screen so we can view
Do
the
you want me to
early.
stop sharing?
Yeah, you can do that. Thanks. Are you seeing my screen? No. Okay. I'm trying again.
No.
Okay, are you okay, are you seeing the screen?
Not yet. Hi,
Anything
sorry,
else?
I got knocked out. I'm back.
Oh, I'm trying to share the screen, but still showing up some issues.
Oh, you still can't share it?
Yeah, it's still giving issues. I tried twice.
They might have to make you the host so that you can share.
I'm already the host, but
It's
it's
a host, but
complicated.
it's taking a long time to share.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can try something else.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Yeah. Because it's taken us out of the presentation, that's why.
Yeah, it's definitely is. So I had to use a different device. I tried it on that one and it's not sharing. Cyril, let me know if you got through.
Yeah, I'm trying. Uh, I'm trying to get back to the presentation. There we go. All right, so if I do this. All right, 1 second, guys. You can hear it, right? But let me see if I can share it. 1 second. Oh, I won't be able to share it because I have to do it in full screen.
Let me give it one more try and then
All
we'll see.
right, you go ahead. In the meantime, I'll see if I get anything. I'm not sharing it, so go ahead. Oh, I see something.
Kitchens do a lot of work for our families.
Ah, you
Meals
got
are
it.
prepared.
Oh, I'm hearing it, but not seeing it. I'm seeing me.
Kitchens do a lot of work for our families. Meals are prepared, drinks are poured and spilled,
Can
and
you
there's
make it
always plenty
large?
to clean and wash. However, rinsing raw poultry contaminates your kitchen with harmful bacteria like Salmonella. Bacteria is aerosolized with water when you rinse your chicken, which means that bacteria can travel beyond what you can see. When you can keep bacteria from spreading, you make the kitchen as clean as possible. This is especially important for the high-risk members of our family, loved ones who are younger and older, or those with poor immune systems. If they get a foodborne illness, they're more likely to be hospitalized or become very ill.
Okay. Do you want to try
Don't
one
rinse
of
your
the
chicken.
Jeopardy ones?
Don't cross-contaminate.
So keep going.
Keep raw juice and chicken away from other foods and kitchen items, and cook thoroughly to at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay. So I will not do the Jeopardy. I'll try to do it on Thursday and we'll hopefully work something out. And we have 5 minutes. I would like to use the 5 minutes for question and answers instead. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please.
I'm gonna put my video back on as well. Okay, so any questions or anything that we miss in the chat? Let me see.
There is no question in the chat as of recent. It's just more speaking of experience.
Okay. So what did you guys learn? Anything different that you learned or anything you want to share? Anything that's surprising beside not washing your chicken?
Very good presentation to you.
Thank you.
Very interesting, and you know, you highlighted things that that need to be followed, and reminding us some things we thought to take for granted. And as you were speaking, I realized we generally don't use thermometers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Let me not speak about the others. And
Right,
so
we don't use it, not here either.
recently I have been because my daughter sort of insists she has food allergies and so forth and that sort of thing. So she's extremely careful with, in terms of temperature, room temperatures that she cooks her food. So it's just something to remind the others here that something that a food thermometer is something that we all should invest in, because it takes the guesswork out of cooking.
Thank you for that insight. And that is so true. It especially if you're cooking meats, because the inside might look cooked, but it's not. Thank you. Beth, you had your hands up?
Yes, I do. Good night. So I
Good
want to
night.
share personal experience. I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? Well, I went to a supermarket and I was outside and it's very hot. So I was very thirsty and I went and I got a juice. As I was drinking the juice, I realized it tastes off. So like when you're thirsty, you would just take a deep mouthful, like a
Big
deep,
gulp, yeah.
right? So when I taste the juice tastes off, I squeeze it in my hand and realize it was a different color.
It was what?
It was a different color. It was like dark. So when I went back to the supermarket, now I went to the cashier. I'm like, okay, something is wrong with this juice. Who I need to speak to? And she's like, okay, we'll have to speak to the supervisor. And from I just telling the lady of the juice, something is wrong with the juice, her attitude shut down. So me saying this, meaning I think supervisors and boss, when people may complain, they can come off aggressive, they can come off rude. And I was insisting, I was telling her to, let's cut the juice to see what's inside. And then she said to me, you can get back a juice. So I'm like, I don't want back the same juice. I just had it.
Right.
I'm like, well, you taste the juice and you can tell. And then she's like, I don't drink juice. So I'm like, how are we? I normally,
So the problem with the juice, the good news, if there is a good news, is it probably wasn't a pathogen because you can't tell. It probably was spoilage.
Oh.
Because if it's a pathogen, you won't be able to tell. It does not change the food. If they had E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria, the food would look perfectly fine. It doesn't even smell. So most likely it was spoilage, like yeast or lactics or something that causes to change the color
Something.
and make it
But
sour.
she was giving off a vibes like I'm telling a
Yes, and
lie. I'm like,
again,
I
we have
want
to
back the
take
money.
the
And
food
I think the
safety culture
customer
we need.
service, it was very poor. And as a
Yeah.
manager, as a supermarket, you have to your customer come first. You
Yeah,
listen
customer
and you give
service is
feedback.
important.
So I was
Thank
telling
you.
her, I said, well, you can get in contact with the company you buy the juice from, because she's like, we're not the one who bring in the juice and make the juice. So I'm like, I was
That's another
torn.
reason why you don't have recalls, because maybe some other people do it, but nobody have a way to document it.
Exactly.
Thank you. Kira
And
Hilton,
then she didn't
you have your hands up for a while.
make a report on it.
Thank you, Beth. Kira Hilton, I hope I
Hi.
said it right.
Yes, Kira. Yes. I'm a teacher, and every year we take our students on an overseas trip. And every single year we get some form of food poisoning. We always have some child with diarrhea, usually diarrhea, sometimes vomiting. So and we always, part of our preparation, we always go with a lot of Pepto-Bismol. So I'm thinking I would find it very hard to see a child with diarrhea and say, oh, let me not give you some Pepto, let it run its course. I don't know.
I know, it's hard. Let's say not to give it if you can, because you have to let it run its course, because all you're doing is delaying the bacteria and the illness. So we'll get a little break. I got sick in one of my trips, and then what I ended up doing, it was in Mexico. They gave me this pill. And I tell you that pill, when you take it, it stops everything. But I was gonna go on the plane, so I didn't have any choice. I needed to stop it. But when I got home and it wore off, it just continued again. But it gave me that break. So there's nothing that say you can't give it. Just be aware that when you take it, it'll give you a break, but the organism's still inside and it will still need to be flushed out. Because it doesn't kill the organism, it just stops the symptoms. So don't stop giving it to them, because it's going to give them a break. But what you should do is to find out why they're getting sick and what's causing them to get sick. And so you can have preparation for it, whether you have to chill it, whether it's not cooked properly, whether it stayed in their handbags too long, because it is
No, we can never check, because we go to a hotel and the food is catered. So we have breakfast and dinner at the hotel. We take them out, they buy food in the mall. I have never been able to tell exactly what causes it. But every year, at least one child will get sick.
Yeah, it's hard. Now, an outbreak for one person is not an outbreak. If you have 2 or more people getting sick, then you can do your own investigation. Find out what did they eat that was the same, right? When they eat it. And always go back and try to let the person, if you think that it is, so, and see if they had any other person sick, right? But again, in the Caribbean, because we don't have a system, in the developed countries like the US, when the people get sick, they go for training, everything is recorded, everything. But the thing that we have going for us good is that we cook the heck out of a lot of our food. And for most part, people are clean. We have a lot of work to do. And you guys, it starts with you. Helen's daughter is providing us this opportunity to think about our business in a holistic approach, not just the dollars and the marketing, but the quality and food safety of your food is going to give you an advantage over somebody else who's not using that. Don't be the crab lady. When you cook, make sure that you are taking the mindset of food safety. And food safety, it's not rocket science, it's common sense. And think about it. I am going to give somebody else something to eat. Is that what I would do for me and my family? Lanisha, you have your hands up. Tanisha?
Yes, I was saying, in terms of the body's natural response to ingestion of a toxin like the listeria or the salmonella, is it wise to take something like an antidiarrheal or just let the body, is the body just going through a process that it needs to go through to just get the toxins out?
Yeah, so that's what we were talking about. Thank you for that. That's why we said that you need to stay away from those antidiarrheal medicine, because if you get food poisoning, there's no cure for it. It has to flush itself out. So it's prevention, right? Prevention is number one. And if you get it, then you need to let it flush itself out. Now, if it's making you sick, where you have bloody diarrhea, where the kids, especially if you have E. coli, it's a very, very bad way to go, because it literally eats your inside, right? It breaks all your system down. Then you have to go there and drink a lot of fluid. I'm not saying not to take care of your illness. I'm just saying that the anti-diarrheal medicine is just a stopgap. If you can, it's better to let it flush out the system out. Exactly what you say. Let the body washes it out. But the key is prevention. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So now we go ahead.
Sorry, there are
No, go ahead.
two questions in the chat.
Mhm.
Someone was asking, if you don't wash the chicken, how do you clean it?
You don't. You cook it. And you
And
cook the germs and everything else that's in there. You can season it, but you don't put washing on it. Now, remember what I said. Another way to do that is if you are going to wash, because I know everybody's going to wash their chicken. I know nobody's there is in this line is like, yeah, you're just nasty. We washing that chicken. Is to be very careful how you wash it. Instead of washing it in the sink and letting the water run over it and creating the spillage, put it in a contained something and wash it there, right? And if you wash it, use sanitizer to make sure that you clean all of the surfaces around you so you are avoiding cross-contamination. So when they say don't wash the chicken, it's because it's so hard to control the cross-contamination when you wash it. If you feel that you can control the cross-contamination by washing the chicken, by all means, wash your chicken.
the next question is it, can you become ill if someone drop a piece of food on the floor, pick it up quickly and run water over it and then eat it? Can you become ill from that?
What they call it, the 5-second rules?
Definitely.
Yes, so they have what you call the 5-second rule. So let me put it another way for you. If you think about, you have a piece of food and somebody drop it on dog food and you only pick it up for 2 seconds and you wash it off. What do you think? Would you say I have the 5-second rules? It didn't stay there long enough? So there's no scientific basis for the 5-second rule. If you touch it and it's pathogenic, yeah, I wouldn't use it, but people use the 5-second rules. And the way I tell them is think about it this way, because the floor is basically dead. You don't know what's on the floor. The bottom of people's food and everything else. The minute it makes contact, it's contaminated. Now, can you wash stuff out? Most of the times you can't wash off pathogens. You can wash dirt off, but not the bacteria.
Then the next question is it true if you overcook meat, it can kill germs and bacteria?
Is it true if you overcook meat, it will kill germs and bacteria? Yes. If you overcook meat, so it will kill the bacteria, it will kill the germs. There's one thing that doesn't get, there's some bacteria that survives temperature. It's called thermophilic bacteria. Fortunately, this one is not a pathogen. And baking or overcooking won't kill it. The other thing that is not going to get killed is staph toxin. So you hear of the flesh-eating disease, the staphylococcus. They produce a toxin. Thanks God it's rare in food poisoning. And no amount of cooking, once you have the toxin, will kill it. So those are the two exceptions. But for most part, everything gets killed. Overcooking, you don't have to overcook. You have to cook to 165 internal temperature. But me, I like everything well done. I went to a restaurant and had food and I said, well done. The chef got so upset. He made my food so almost to burn that my steak was half the size when it came out. And he was over there laughing. I'm like, that's okay. I'm not gonna die. But yes, it will kill it. So again, guys, now this is a precursor to what happens at home, to what happened in your farm or in your business. So I wanted to just try to bring it home to see, get the knowledge of the basics for you, your family, and then turn that on to your customers and your consumers, because you are responsible for the food that you feed others, and you have to treat them like your family. And that you have to treat it as your business, because that's your daily bread. As you make your business plan, if you have a business plan and you go for a loan and you can show in your business plan, part of that is your food safety plan, that is a competitive advantage because not everybody have that. So next, on Thursday, we will go through some gaps. We'll talk about organic, we'll talk about all natural and GMO, and then we'll do a little bit about your food safety plan. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but I want you guys to go through your plan, look at it, and then we'll quickly talk about how you can use it to add it to your business plan, or just to give you an idea of where you are in your food safety journey. And if we have time, I want to talk a little bit about AI. We hear about AI, and we hear a lot of negatives about what AI can do and the Internet of Things. And time permitting, we'll do a little bit of touching for awareness of what are the advantages and disadvantages of using AI and the Internet of Things to improve our efficiency in our farming, in our business, by improving food safety. Okay? I thank all of you for being active and participating. I really appreciate it. Bronte, you want to have this last question? Bronte?
Thank you very much. Just a quick one. What are your thoughts on using products that are beyond the best
shelf
before
life
date or the expiry date?
So
Because I know
that's a
some
good
persons say
question.
that they aren't actually expired, they're still good, but they just need to get them off the shelf by that particular date.
Yeah. So the best by dates are the dates that the quality of the product can still be at optimal, right? So there are products like canned foods or cereal. The best by date is normally for quality, not for food safety. Yes? And it tells you the freshness of the product or the nutrient content of the product. So best by dates, when we as a business make the best by date, the big businesses, I'm just gonna give you an internal secret. So when we sell food to a retailer like Walmart, I mean a Kellogg or a Kraft, they won't take the food until you give them 3 months before the expiration date. And the reason for that is they want to turn it around, and by the time they put it on the shelf, they have enough time to sell it. So most companies are selling the food with a 6 months on their shelf life, right? So when you see the best by date, you normally have 2 to 3 months where the food is still good. Now, milk is different because the milk, you will see it expire, you will smell it. So once you see the best by date, does not mean that it's bad. My sister, who thinks she's a millionaire, she's the younger one, she comes to my house and the first thing she goes and she throws everything that has an expiration date on it. So I made her pay for it because not everything that expire is bad. Definitely it's not a pathogen, it's just quality. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. But
I
don't buy
also-
the swollen cans. Swollen cans is throw out, don't taste. I appreciate the info. However, I'm already super careful with food. This session has amplified my concern. Thank you. Yes, a little knowledge can be very dangerous, but it also keeps us safe. All right, ladies, thank you so much for your participation. Really appreciate staying with us, and we will see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Ms. Morel. It was a wonderful.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Have a good night. Stay warm or cool.
Good night.
Night. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you,
Good night.
Shaquana.
Thank you so much.
Latoya, thank you.
Good night. Thank you for empowering us.